So I've read a lot of books over the past 5 years, probably over 100, and I can tell you that there is a lot of good ones and there is a lot of bad ones. And in today's video, I want to break down my top 10 that I've found to be the most impactful overall. And I can tell you this is not an easy task to dial it down to 10 because there are so many good books out there. And me personally, I love to read, pretty much because it is the easiest way to have a conversation with someone that you would never ever get the opportunity to do so. Seriously, imagine if you could sit down with Elon Musk or Bill Gates or any of these kind of guys and talk to them for, hours at a time. So much damn dialogue. That is what you get through books. You get a look into someone else's mind and you get to learn so much valuable information. And that is why it is such a pivotal component to incorporate in your day-to-day life. Now, it doesn't have to be a physical book either. It could be something like an audio book. So all these kind of books that I'm going to go through, most of them do have audio book adaptations. So without further ado, guys, let's hop right into it. Number one, guys, is going to be quite a universally acclaimed book. And this is called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, I have to mention that I am quite an introvert, to be perfectly honest. Like, I will have to go out of my way to talk to people and have like a productive conversation over a long period of time. Helping people is like my aspect of extroversion. It's like, I want to help people and that is how I can be extroverted. And while you're not going to mesh well with everyone, if you do want to build positive connections and influence people, there are some things that you do want to implement on a day-to-day basis that is going to increase that chance of it happening. And this book, honestly, it's sold over 16 million copies for a reason. And it's because a lot of the things in here do work. And it is a pretty easy read, and a lot of the things in here can be summed up in, a couple words, but for the most part, man, once you read it, go back to it, reread it, and those things that you implement within your day-to-day life, you'll notice that they do make a good difference. And that is the best feeling in the world. Once you read something and you actually apply it to your day-to-day life, you see some positive benefits. That is such a good feeling. Number two, guys, we're gonna take a step into more of a financial realm. Now, I think from the most part, a lot of people have no flipping idea what to do with their finances. And I would blame this a lot of the time on parental influence, as well as schools just not really making finances a pivotal topic in schooling. But for the most part, this book is a really, really good look into the basics of money. So pretty much a lot of people, when they earn an income, it's just expenditure. It's all expenditure, and they never understand how to make money work for them as opposed to always just working for money. And this book breaks down the very, very simple steps of how to make that possible for you through a nice story of him having a poor dad and then like a step rich dad. Overall, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, very good read. An extension from that is going to be The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Now, this book is dense to say the absolute least, and I will say it is like the big brother to this book. It is the blander, hard to read, hard to digest version of that book. It goes into a lot more of the ins and outs of investing and how to grow your money over time periodically. And it is thick, it is dense, it uses a lot of boring, bland language. But overall, guys, if you can get through this and you can really absorb a lot of this knowledge, then it's going to increase your chances of becoming financially free. Overall, guys, The Intelligent Investor is probably one of the best books on investing out there. By far the best book on investing ever written. Warren Buffett, bang. The man, the myth, the legend. Up next is going to be Influence by Robert Cialdini. I've probably butchered his last name, but this is a really, really interesting read. It goes into a lot of studies that have been undertaken about how people actually were influenced. And this could be influenced through the media, through things like television, through advertising and everything else in between, and just how we grow up. How do we adapt to certain circumstances? And one of the coolest things I took away from this book is just to be present about how I'm being influenced. So if I notice an advertisement and I notice how it's making me feel, I see and I can understand the underlying workings from a psychological perspective about how I'm being influenced by that. So it's a really, really cool feeling. It just allows you to be on the lookout for things that you might not want to actually do, but you're influenced by certain tactics. So this is honestly a really, really good and interesting read. Up next is going to be a very, very cool book, and it's honestly really, really pivotal for the current time that we find ourselves. It's a time that is just very, very unideal, and this kind of book is going to put into major perspective about how you can actually overcome those circumstances that you do find yourself in. So this is called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and this is about a psychotherapist who went through the camps in Auschwitz pretty much, and he documented his entire experience of the camps. He noted about how each inmate interacted and acted and how they felt and the degrading of their psyche and everything else in between. And honestly, it's a really, really good perspective shift. So I would recommend this to just about anyone just to read. It really puts into perspective your own life as well. So if anything, you're gonna gain a lot of good optimism from this. So this is honestly a really, really cool book. Again, 12 million copies sold. and it's not for nothing. It's a good book. So one of my favorite things to read is Stoic philosophy. And if you've ever heard of Stoicism, it is honestly one of the coolest things to implement within your day-to-day life. And it is pretty hardcore, and it sounds really emotionless when you first get into it, but it is a very, very cool thing to implement within your own life. And one of the favorite books that I have read in terms of Stoic philosophy is going to be Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was the emperor of Rome pretty much when it was in its absolute peak. So he decided to journal. Do you know how cool that is? The man with the biggest power in the entire world, the emperor of Rome at the time, which was the leading powerful journal. And this is a translation of all those things that he wrote about. And it's absolutely incredible. So this is a book that cannot go left unread. Now, through our day-to-day life, we're always going to be interacting with people and making decisions. And a lot of the books I've referenced before are going to help you cope under those circumstances. But one aspect of life that people just really, really struggle with, me included, is gonna be negotiation. So this book is called How to Split the Difference. It's by Chris Voss, who is an ex-FBI hostage negotiator. And pretty much it goes into depth about how you can negotiate under any kind of circumstance. So whether you're trying to buy a new car and you want to get it for a cheaper price, or whether you want to get your lease taken down, or someone's trying to up your lease and you want to make the case of why it should stay the same, or you want to influence your parents, you want to negotiate with your parents a different circumstance for school, for work, for anything, a pay rise from your job, then this is going to give you a lot of tips about how you can avoid the negative pitfalls that come along with that, because negotiating is a high emotion environment, and the biggest negotiation of all is life, and he did it under a hostage negotiation circumstance. It must be tough. So I guarantee you, taken a lot of things from this book and applied it into my own life, and I guarantee you will too. We're stacking up here, lads. Now, along the lines of that Stoic philosophy perspective, a lot of the things that the Stoics attack is the ego, and this book dives right into that. So this is called Ego is the Enemy. It's by Ryan Holiday, who really, really delves very, very deep into the Stoic philosophy. And I will say, guys, this is a really, really good book. It's going to help you avoid any pitfalls that you could easily slip into from the ego kind of taking over things. So I will say that I took a great deal from this, just noticing things in my own life about how I'm acting to certain people, or just how I'm feeling, and noting that you need to take a dial back sometimes. And this book is just going to give you that nice kick in the balls, I will say. Next book is going to be Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. This is one of my favorite books of all time, if not the favorite, just because of how bloody dense it is. It dives into so damn much. It's like the laws of human nature, humans. Like that is really what our lives are about. It's human interaction, it's how humans act, and everything else in between. And what I love about this book is it dives into history. So it gives anecdotal evidence of what kind of principles are found within this book. So if it talks about something, it's gonna note to it an exact situation where this was applied in history. And this could be history from before Christ, this could be the Renaissance, or anything else in between. It could be modern day. And I just find it a very, very enjoyable read. So I like to note this to being similar to this, but it's almost like the darker version. So it talks about death, murder, and that kind of toxic influence, I suppose. And this is like the positive, let's be friends, and everything else in between. And this is like the dark side. So they're both interesting reads, I will say, but I did find this one a little bit more enjoyable, just because it went into more anecdotal side of things. Whereas I find this to be a little bit more wishy-washy. Like, it is fun, and like we should all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. This is unfortunately not how the world works for 100% of the people here. Last but not least, guys, is a book that I am currently reading. I'm very close to being finished, but I had to put it in my top 10 because honestly, it has been such an enjoyable read. And this is gonna be Cant Hurt Me by David Goggins. And if you haven't heard of David Goggins, I'm gonna give you a quick overview. The man ran like a bunch of 100-mile marathons. I can't remember exactly, but they're called like ultra marathons, I'm pretty sure. He ran a bunch of those. He went through Hell Week in the Navy SEALs, became a Navy SEAL after failing like 3 times. Probably the most amazing feat that he's done that I've paid attention to. I think he lost over 100 pounds in 3 months, and that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Someone to do that is astronomical. Like, you should almost be dead. But anyway, this is a really, really good, interesting read. Dives into the depths of how to overcome trauma and understand that, like, you aren't a victim. You can choose a victim mindset, or you can choose to overcome that victimhood, overcome that negative circumstance you did find yourself in, and grow from it. And that's exactly what this man did. And it sets the precedent that whatever you're going through in your life is just an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to overcome that and become a better person on the other side. So that is the 10 books, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. Let me know below, guys, what kind of book you are reading right now. now if you're into books, a recommendation that you might have for me, and I'll definitely check that out. Also, links for all these books will be in the description if you do want to check those out. So I hope you did enjoy this video. It's definitely a bit of a different one, but from the most part, guys, physical ability is just one side of the equation. The other side is your mental. Without a proper mental, then you are just gonna fail. You're gonna give up. Your mind is gonna quit way before your body does. So it's very important to keep both in tune. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Drop a like if you did, so I know I'll continue making videos just like this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Arigato, Mr. Roboto.